Hi folks, Robert Quigley, Washington D.C., America's Independent. We're on the road to the White House. Today folks, we are down on the Washington Mall. We are enjoying the nice weather, the tourists. We're remembering things that are important to America, and today we're going to do a bit of a deep dive into the presidency and war. We are at the Vietnam Memorial. You see the wall behind me folks, you see the cards, you see the wreaths. There's a name etched on that wall for every soldier and military personnel and person that died in the Vietnam War. Folks, war is perhaps the most serious thing that a president can deal with. It will affect millions of lives. It will affect families for decades to come. It will affect folks all over the country. We must never lose sight that on the one hand, the president's #1 job is to keep the peace. However, in the jungle that we live in, that we call the world, war is always a tool that's on the table. So let's look at the two wars, the two big issues that the next president is going to have to deal with. One of them, of course, is Ukraine and Russia. We all know Russia invaded the Ukraine. We all know that for 125 years, the Russians have been a dictator, pain in the butt to the rest of the world. They went down the road of communism. They swallowed hook, line, and sinker the philosophy of Karl Marx, for example, and Engels. Their hearts were in the right place, but the #1 job of government is to provide the resources and a safe, secure country for folks to thrive. As we all know, Russia did not budge from that philosophy until 1990, 1991. And here we are seeing them again dreaming of empire, and we're more than a year into the Russian-Ukrainian war, and the Russians still think it is winnable. Recently, folks, the Ukrainians have hit targets in Moscow. My own opinion, better or worse, people agree or they don't agree, I 100% support the Ukrainians. The United States has done the right thing. We have supplied them with the military and equipment that they need. We've supplied them with the arms that they've needed, because if we don't stop the Russians once and for all, the problem is they're going to roll on through Europe. And this is going to require a draft in the United States. It would require sending our young men and women off to war in a totally unnecessary conflict. The whole thing was started by senior Russians dreaming of fortune and glory. So what the United States has been doing, I support 100%. Now don't get me wrong, we also have a lot of other programs that we need to bring into operation to help American folks all across the country. There's lots of videos on the campaign website. There are other Twitter videos where we talk about these issues. But right now, we're just talking about the concept of war and the presidency. So we have done the right thing, and we're going to press this war until the Russians give it up, or until they basically put themselves into the poorhouse in such a way that it's going to be decades, many, many decades before they're going to be able to climb out of it. So whatever the Ukrainian needs, the rest of the world needs to supply them. Now let's change chapters here a little bit. We also have China. China has turned into a belligerent country. We've seen all of the military aggression that they have displayed around Taiwan. We know they have a problem with India. We know they're trying to control the South China Sea. Folks, 80% of the world's commerce travels through the South China Sea at the moment. There is no way on this planet that the United States is ever going to let China take Taiwan, control the South China Sea, and in any way dent the world order as we know it. But the question is, when you're the president and you're talking to your staff, what is the best way to stop Chinese aggression and to bring an end to the Russian-Ukraine debacle? Well, the answer is a strong military, a strong, capable, willing, fighting force. sends a message to all of the aggressors around the world that military adventurism will be stopped in its tracks. In other words, we can call this the Reagan Doctrine, the Eisenhower Doctrine. You want a peaceful nation, you want a peace-loving country, there's only one road that we can travel to achieve that, and that is to maintain an incredibly super strong military force that essentially will overwhelm any and all enemies. So having said that, and looking at the lay of the land, we know our allies in Western Europe. We know our allies in East Asia, stretching all the way down to Australia and New Zealand, up to Japan. The Chinese have zero ability to really prosecute military aggression because we will be there to stop them in their tracks. And just to remind those Chinese generals, just in case they happen to have forgotten, if there is conflict in Taiwan, every target in mainland China is on the table. They are viable things to hit, including taking out their oil supplies, including eliminating their commercial fleet. You know, they've went out and built these aircraft carriers, which is really funny, because they've built their military for World War II. The United States can knock out all 5 of those carriers. 3 are in operation, 2 are in construction, with missiles from 1,000 miles away. But nevertheless, they think they have got bravado, they think they've got military experience, and we need to remind the Chinese that we say what we mean and we mean what we say. Now, having said that, and sticking with today's themes, I've picked on the Republicans for a while, and now I'm going to pick on the Democrats a little bit. As we all know, President Biden and Kamala Harris is the weakest ticket that America has ever seen. Joe Biden is called Sleepy Joe for a reason. He is too old to be in the White House. He has been in Washington, D.C. for 42 years. He has totally lost touch with the people around the country. This is a joke. This is another topic in itself. What in the world have the Democrats and the Republicans done to the United States? George Washington warned us if we went down the road of political parties, we were going to wind up into tribal warfare, and those political parties were going to focus solely on the interest of them and their members, and everybody else was going to get screwed. Biden should have never thought about running for president. His weakness basically tells America's enemies that it's okay to attack the Ukraine. It's okay to start an attempt to take over Taiwan. When the person that sits in the White House is a weak-minded, experienced individual with a weak personality, that makes America look weak. Now let me tell you, the America that I know is not a weak America. Our country is super strong. We just have weak people at the helm. When I get to the White House, folks, I guarantee you the proper balance will be maintained. I come from a military family. I can go back all the way to the Revolutionary War, and in every single conflict in United States history, I have had family members that have fought or died in those conflicts. I can take you to Valley Forge. I can take you to Kentucky. I can take you to their grave sites. I know these people. I know it to be true. We got the family Bibles and so forth. The reason why I share that with you is understanding the concept of force delivering peace and understanding the necessity of America's military to the strength and functioning of our country is extremely important. Biden doesn't have that same pedigree, and many others in the current presidential field are anything but leaders on both the Democratic side as well as the Republican side. That's kind of another topic. Today we just want to talk about the issue of war and the presidency and how important the military is, and we want to remember the fallen veterans that we see memorialized behind us, because without their sacrifice, we would all be slaves to countries we have never dreamed about even visiting. Folks, join my team. We're going to take the White House in 2024, and we're going to make America work for everybody. We need your 5s, we need your 10s, we need your 20s. Go to the website, robertquigleyforpresident.com. There's a ton of work to do. Join me, we will make it work.